So today I'm starting out with my eyes, and I'm using my shadow base, my all-time favorite, Select Coverup, the 252 brush. I've talked about this concealer before, but I think it's important that you guys know that I don't just use it out of the bottle. What's cool about Select Coverup is it'll give you what I like to call the gummy bear effect. And what the gummy bear effect is, essentially, gummy bears are better when they're stale, and so is Select Coverup. So what I like to do when I get a new bottle of that Select Coverup, I'll just chop off one end and let it dry. That way it's already matte and thick when you go into it, so there's no need to constantly go over it and over it and over it, over and over again. It already has that nice thick consistency. So, gummy bear effect. It's amazing. I'm using this concealer on the top and bottom of my eye and then buffing out the edges just to make sure I have a seamless finish so it just blends into the foundation later on. And then I'm gonna go in with my brows. I'm using Brow Fluidline in Dirty Blonde. So I'm just carving out the brow underneath, fluffing the front, and then I'll carve out the other edge as well. It's like paint by numbers. I also will switch up product. I may use a pencil, I may use a powder. I think it's important that you switch up your products just to flex your makeup skills and be able to use all products, not just one that you're super good at. You gotta try the other ones. Different products will give you different brow effects too. This one, I want it to be more of a dramatic brow, more carved out. I'm now gonna go in with Chrome Yellow Eyeshadow, it's by MAC, and a ZOEVA 228 brush. I love this brush. They have a lot of great brushes that are really amazing quality and not super pricey. It is a UK brand, so it may take a little while to get if you are in the US of A, but it's worth it, I swear. And a 224 just to blend out the edges. Clean 224, I use it in all my makeups. Just for a clean, blown out effect. Same thing, opposite eye. Small swipey motions. My base layer, I do want the most blown out, so I'm doing more of like a windshield wiper effect. With my other shadows, I'll keep it a little more tight lined. I then am going to bring that chrome yellow underneath as well, same brush, with the same effect as on top of the eye, so I want to make sure I bring that product underneath as well. For the same effect, I want that blown out sunset, sunrise effect. I love that brush. Buffing out the edges into that concealer. I'm now gonna go in with my next eyeshadow, which is Rule Eyeshadow. I'm using a smaller brush, a MAC 221. So I'm just depositing that color and then fluffing it up. I'm using smaller sections, not quite as large sections as that chrome yellow. I wanna keep it a little more concentrated. So I'm making sure I keep those small sections. Rule is one of my all-time favorite eyeshadows for an orange. It's a really soft orange without it going too red. Some oranges have a tendency to go really red. This one does not. Stays that peachy orange that I want. Bringing the same shadow underneath, same brush, just like with the chrome yellow. And with the same effect, a little more tight lined. I'm now gonna go in with Red Brick. This is gonna be my darkest shadow. I'm using a 217. Red Brick blends beautifully with Rule for that sunset effect. And I'm using even smaller smaller motions than the other two products. So I'll lay down the product and then I'll buff out the edges with the shadow prior. Laying down that product, buffing out the product. I'm now gonna go in with a 219 brush. It's a little bit more of a pencil brush with the Rule. I didn't use the 217 like I used on top just because it is a little bit of a thicker brush, which I used on top because I did want it to get on the lid. But if I use that underneath, it would kind of take up all my other layers, which is not what I want. So I'm going to use a little bit of a smaller 219 brush just to make sure it goes where I want it to go. I'm then going to cut out my crease using my Select Coverup once again and a 252 brush. I really want to get that rounded shape. So the 252 brush is really going to give me that effect without me having to do much work. And then buffing out the edge with that 219. I don't want it to get patchy, so I want to make sure I buff out that edge before the concealer sets all the way down, and then go in with Gesso, which is MAC's matte white eyeshadow, right on that inner corner with a flat, dense brush. And then I'm going to go in with that. I actually mixed the two. I picked up a little bit of the chrome yellow and a little bit of the Rule on the same brush and put that in the center for more of that sunset effect, or sunrise. Same thing, opposite side. Cutting out that crease. It's important too that while you're doing this, you take a look, like take a step back, look at your eyes straight on and make sure one's not higher than the other. If you're always all up in the mirror looking at how you're placing it down and you take a step back once it's all finished, a lot of the times one will be a little higher than the other, especially if it's liner, one might be going one way and the other way, and it can turn into a mess. So just make sure you take a step back and look at the makeup, make sure it's going the way you want it to. Nobody likes an unpleasant surprise. I'm now gonna go in with my mascara. You can use any mascara. I'm using an Extreme 3D Black. It's a MAC mascara, but we're gonna go in with lashes. So as long as the mascara you're using doesn't transfer underneath your eye, you're golden. I like this mascara. It has a tiny little tip on one end, so it's easy for me to get those little baby bottom lashes, even the difficult ones on the outer corner. The lashes I'm going to use today are a pre-stacked pair. They're MAC 35s and 33s, so it's a little bit more of like a wispier, softer lash. I want to be able to see my eyeshadow, and because I have a smaller lid to crease ratio, a softer lash will allow me to still be able to see my lid shadow without it disappearing under the lash. I use Duo, the classic Duo. I don't like the non-latex Duo. It doesn't stick as well. It works great for glitter, like as a glitter glue, but I like the OG Duo with the liquid latex in it. Sticks way better. So today for foundation, I'm not quite as tan as I've been. My self-tanner is wearing off, so I am using DIOR Airflash. It's a airbrush, I should say, foundation, so it's more of a spray. I'm using it in shade 100, which is the lightest shade. I'm buffing it out with a Real Techniques brush. You can get those brushes at any drugstore, Walgreens, Target, wherever. It's a really soft bristle brush, and it's good for patting down foundation, which is what I want with the DIOR. I know a lot of people spray the DIOR onto the brush. I like to spray it onto the skin. I find it easier to blend than spraying it onto the brush. Just be real careful if you're spraying it on your face. If it's too far out, it'll get everywhere. And then cleaning up the edges with a ZOEVA 228 brush, making sure it gets close to the brow and the edges, around the hairline, without using a big brush and getting it where I don't want to get it. Use a smaller brush. I'm now going to go back in with a concealer. I'm using Nars Soft Matte Concealer. I'm placing it down with the same 252 that I used on my eyes, and then just buffing out the edges with a 228 brush from ZOEVA. I do like this concealer. I'm very picky with my concealer. So if I like this concealer, it's hot fire. You should definitely try it out. It's super matte. It comes in a little pot. It doesn't crease, and it sets really nicely. A lot of concealers on me will set like really patchy and strange. This one goes on nice and smooth. So place down, buff out, and then I'll go in with my original eyeshadow, Chrome Yellow, on that ZOEVA 228 brush and just buff out the edge, just to make sure it's seamless. I'm now gonna set my concealer with Select Sheer and C5. I'm using a 128 brush from MAC. It was discontinued, so if you go in trying to find it, you probably won't find it, but it's my favorite for under the eye. It's super dense, and it gives me a little bit more of a packing motion. Studio Waterweight powder. It's my favorite powder right now. As you saw in that little photo, it has a cool and a warm all in one, so you can kind of customize it or just swirl it all together like I do. It has a blurring effect on the skin, and who doesn't want that? Bronzer, I'm using my personal favorite Dark Tan Mineralize Skinfinish by MAC. I'm using a 135 brush, which is a nice flat fan-like brush, but denser than a fan brush. You want to use a flat brush just to make sure it goes where you want it to go. And my inner corner highlight. I am using Hyper Real, the gold Hyper Real with a 217. Now that my face, for the most part, product is done, I'm just running a lash primer through my brows just to make sure I remove any excess product that may have fallen in. And going in with that Hyper Real once again as my highlight, just right on that orbital bone, using a smaller 133 brush, just adding a little more inner corner highlight. I'm now using a liquid lipstick in Burnt Spice. I didn't put any product underneath it. Sometimes it can kind of get strange. So I'm just going straight in with it. It'll still hold a nice clean line without having a liner. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is my second video. So let me know what you think in the comment page below, and any details will be down there as well. Thanks, guys.